Congress kicking the can on automatic spending cuts now set to take effect 2 months from now. Joining us from Washington, Republican Senator John Barrasso. He's the chairman of the Senate Republican Policy Committee. And welcome. Thank you for being here. A day
Thanks
after we've at least temporarily averted where we were going. In terms of this next debate, which is going to be about the debt ceiling, which is going to be about the sequester, do you anticipate all of this coming together at one time? Do you see us trying to do the sequester first and then the debt ceiling? Is there a grand bargain still to be had?
Well, there needs to be a focus on cutting spending, and you're absolutely right when you talk about the Secretary of the Treasury having some ability to move that debt ceiling final deadline date a little bit this way or that way. But the bottom line is, you know, the president had talked about the debt ceiling, said he's not going to argue with Congress again over bills that they've racked up. Let me remind the president and the viewers that those are bills that are related to his so-called stimulus package, which spent a lot of money and I believe has been a failure, and his health care law. And I will tell you as a doctor that it is unworkable. It continues to be very unpopular, and it's unaffordable. These are the president's bills. They're not and it's a Nancy Pelosi Congress that forced these things through.
Walk us through the dance that's going to happen here. Who's got the leverage, and what's going on inside your party? For example, Paul Ryan and Boehner voted yes for this. Cantor and others voted no. How is all this going to come together?
Well, the president is addicted to spending. He wants to spend. He wants a new credit card after he's maxed out the last one. And he actually, as part of this debt ceiling negotiations, wanted a new credit card then with an unlimited credit limit. And obviously, we kept that out of any of the discussion. So we're going to focus on spending. And the tidal waves coming at us are our Medicare and our Social Security. I mean, those are the things that if we don't address those, there is nothing else that we can do to deal with the problem. The president, the night he was re-elected, said he didn't want our children to be living in a world where they are burdened with debt, but yet he fails to address any of that. The president has acted like raising taxes on some would solve all the problem, when in fact it paid for only about a week of spending over the course of a year.
Are you going to put specifics on the table?
Oh, absolutely. You know, in terms of dealing with the spending, you have to deal with the way that that they look at the cost of living allowances. We need a more realistic approach on that. We need to take a look at raising the ages of the entitlement program. And additionally, you have to means test these, saying that people that are very wealthy shouldn't be getting their Medicare bills paid by working men and women of our country.
What's your expectation that we have corporate tax reform as part of this conversation?
Well, I think that's the appropriate and the right thing to do, and what should have been part of this last conversation. Through tax reform, you can actually lower the rates and in the same way bring in actually additional revenue. You know, I'm for a territorial tax system, and the president in the debates a year and a half ago and Geithner seemed to be for it, right. And now they seem to be against it.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. There was an indication from the White House this fall that this was a conversation they were prepared to have. Do you think it's back on the table?
Well, it should be back on the table. There's a lot of money overseas that could come back here if we did this right and change to the international tax system in a way that we can lower the rates again for corporations. You know, it used to be that the biggest competitor to a business was the business down the street, but the biggest competitor and threat to businesses around our country now is the federal government, and regulations are a very big part of that as well.
I would just offer one comment about the means testing issue. You know, with the recent proposals which are going to allow people's retirement accounts to basically be virtually tax-free down the road when they make withdrawals, with the Roth conversions, either of 401ks or conversions that people did last year of IRAs, when those people retire, they won't have any taxable income. So even if you means test them, they won't have any taxable income from their withdrawals out of those plans. So you wouldn't find any income to means test. So, you know, if you're thinking about entitlement reform and you're thinking about means testing, I think you have to worry about the interaction of now having lots of your retirement savings account be basically non-taxable income down the road when people are withdrawing that.
Well, you raised that point with Senator Corker, and as he said, you're absolutely right. You know, people are obviously human and make decisions which are in their own best interest. So whatever incentives the government seems to put out there, there are consequences of those decisions, and people act in their own best interest. And you're going to continue to see that happen.
Let me ask you this. I mean, one of the underlying concerns about many of my clients with respect to those conversions is at some point down the road, when we look at the issue around means testing to pay with entitlements, at some point down the road, those non-taxable retirement accounts, that people that did Roth conversions, there's great concern that tax law will change and people will be subject to tax again on something they've already paid tax before. Do you think that's a possibility 10 years down the road?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say what a future Congress is going to do. The bottom line is we need to get this economy growing again. We need to get people back to work. We need to have more taxpayers rather than raising the rates on those people that already have jobs.
Senator, we're going to leave it there. We thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.